Well, just about every day now we see technology's growing importance in our lives, how we communicate, how we interact, and just how much our world is changing. A lot of people are on board, a lot of others are terrified. If technology somehow allowed viewers from the past to watch the news of the present, people may have thought, yeah, right, as if. Just this week, employees at a Wisconsin company lined up to have microchips implanted in their hands, all to avoid typing in those pesky passwords. There were also reports of American scientists genetically modifying a human embryo. And then there was a public spat between two tech titans.
I'm really optimistic.
Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg, about whether we should protect ourselves against artificial intelligence.
I watched a recent interview with Elon Musk, and his largest fear was AI.
Is science fiction becoming our new reality? And what comes next? Are we all doomed? Are we doomed? You might have had this conversation with friends, but we decided to have it here with people who really know this stuff. Jamie Schneiderman is CEO of Rfid Analytics. Kate Lunau is an editor at Vice's science and tech platform Motherboard. And Anne Kavukian is with Privacy by Design Center of Excellence. So thanks for coming in. First of all, let's I think in that tape they might have had the bit about putting chips in your hands. Like, what are some of the things besides AI that are coming down the tracks? Kate, why don't we start with you?
It's funny you mentioned, putting chips in your hand. I know that was in the news last week, and I always joke about how I would love to have one of these chips because I lose my keys, I forget my wallet everywhere. I know, I get into work and I have to bug the security guard to let me in because I forgot my card. But obviously, Well,
you can lose your keys, but this is your body,
it's in your hand.
Yeah.
But it's in your hand, so you also can't turn it off. You may not have a good idea of what data it's collecting. If it's connected to the internet, it could be vulnerable to hacking. There are a lot of concerns. Now, biohacking and implants like this actually have a long history. People have been doing this for years. I think what's creepy here is it's a company that's doing this voluntarily, I should add, to their employees. Of course there are privacy concerns around.
I can hear Anne gasping here.
Well, I mean, you want to chip something, chip the pets, but don't chip people. Because the other thing is, there's no guarantee. You don't know that there's no GPS in the chips. And this is an employer requiring his employees to do this. And even if they consent to it, they don't know what they're agreeing to. So the employer, there was a big fuss about this, and the employer came and he said, no, I promise there's no GPS in it. I say trust but verify. Get an independent third party, a Deloitte or PwC or someone, to audit this and make sure it can't be used for any purpose other than the intended purpose. But even beyond that, what do you need a chip for? You've got biometrics. You can use your fingerprint, your iris scan.
Jamie, jump in there.
But look, I agree with Anne with respect to an employer requiring their employees to do this for the sake of checking in and checking out of work and sort of big brother watching you that way. But there's a whole other positive side. I think we're entering sort of a golden era of information and how we can access information, and we have to be careful about that. But if you take the same premise around a chip in your body, imagine a chip being placed in your body to monitor your health and to be able to diagnose or know things are coming before you do, before any doctor would see it. I mean, the advantages and benefits are massive. So it's not that it's bad, inherently bad, it's how it gets used that's critical here.
And information is really the future in all of this, right? Information is the future,
absolutely.
And what does that mean in real terms for?
Well, I think we underestimate how much information there is out there and how much more it could equip us to move forward and to solve problems we couldn't solve before. So we're now moving into a place, we've been in a world of gadgets. Technology was about gadgets, the next great thing, but really the next great place to go to, the exciting place to go to is how those gadgets bring information together to do, I think, positive. And the caution here is there is always a downside to too much information being out there, and that's the risk.
Yeah.
I'm not opposed to information, and data is proliferating, there's no question. But it has to be data utility and privacy. You have to have both. It can't be a zero-sum game where the greater amount of data you have, the less privacy you will by necessity have. You have to have both. And that's why privacy by design is based on that kind of positive sum win-win model where you can have both interests emerging, doubly enabling, not one versus the other. it's really important that individuals remain in control of their information.
So I'm going to tell a story. Last night, I went out for drinks with old high school friends, hadn't seen them in years. And we were talking about the old days where we went to the park and we talked face to face and just did things together. And weren't those great memories, right? And then we talked about kids today, they're staring at their iPhones and what have you, and they're texting each other, they're not having actual real interaction. And then we realized the reason we were all sitting around this table is because of things like Facebook and that reunited us because we were able to connect. And it became a discussion over, is all this a bad thing or a good thing, you know, as technology develops. Kate, I'll start with you. Good or bad, all of this stuff? I mean, everything.
Yeah, I will always think that technology is good. I mean, I think that, you know, I am an optimist and I believe that technology enables us to do more things, you know, to cure disease, to meet all kinds of challenges that humanity has. Climate change, you know, we're all very hopeful for technology to come and fix many of these problems. That being said, it's very important that people have ownership over that technology and that the public understands what the technology is. One thing I've been really encouraged by as a science and tech journalist is how scientists are starting to really open up their work and their experimentation to the public, publishing their results online for anyone to see, really opening it up to debate. I think that's so important. So I think technology is always a net benefit, but that everyone needs to understand it and have ownership over it, or else that's when we could get into trouble. I told you
this would go by quickly. We want to get to both of you. Jamie, let's start with you on that. Good or bad?
I think technology is great. And if I would add one other thing, which is we're judging technology from our lens as adults. And I think what's most interesting and most important here is how children today look at technology. They're better equipped to handle it. They understand it better. And they're the ones who are going to take that technology and help to solve problems going into the future. And that's what has me most optimistic as I look forward.
And last word from a privacy perspective, because that's one of the great fears in all of this.
I love technology as well, but the one that concerns me is the surveillance-related potential, especially in the hands of government. Governments are using the technology to create massive surveillance on the populace, often without our knowledge or consent. That we have to say no to.
Awesome. Thanks very much to all three of you.
Thank you.
Thanks.